First of all, I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for your support and love. I really thank you so much. Today, I'll show you haunted graveyards and also real ghosts in videos and camera caught. And I can assure you that these videos and images have been analyzed by the most experts, and these videos and images are all authentic. So, are you ready to dive into the deepest and scariest paranormal? Okay, I warn you, these videos can be very disturbing and creepy. Let's watch them. Warning! Some images could disturb the sensitivity of the viewers. Here we are at Stoll Cemetery, Douglas County, Kansas, United States.
Kansas Cemetery has garnered the name the Gates of Hell, which should tell you pretty much everything you need to know about it. The graveyard has a long history of associations with the occult, and many people began to believe the rumors swirling around it after a piece was published in the University of Kansas student newspaper in 1974 saying that the devil visited Stoll 2 times every year, on Halloween and during the spring equinox. Spread like wildfire. The legend went so crazy.
Here we are at Glasnevin Cemetery in Dublin, Ireland.
Figures are buried at Dublin's Glasnevin Cemetery. The site is aware that they have a reputation for being haunted, with the museum affiliated with it even offering a ghastly Glasnevin exhibit. Some stories of hauntings are harrowing, but others are simply heartbreaking. One of the legends associated with Glasnevin is that there's a ghost of a dog who stayed by the tomb of his master, Captain John McNeill Boyd, and died of starvation. Now, he continues to haunt the area. We're not crying, you're crying. They did.
Here we are a la Recoleta, Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Said to be generally haunted by spirits, and others have more specific stories associated with them. La Recoleta in Buenos Aires is one of the latter, with a legend telling the story of Rufina Cambaceres, a young girl who was purportedly buried alive at the turn of the 20th century. Days after her funeral, an employee allegedly noticed something amiss at her gravesite, and eventually found scratch marks inside her coffin. The intricate tomb that is now there was apparently commissioned by her parents to commemorate what happened.
Here we are at the Highgate Cemetery in London, United Kingdom.
It makes sense that there are so many locations in the city that are associated with the spirit world.
This place is at once a product and a symbol of Victorian society. It is a physical survival, enclosed, untouched, and homogeneous.
Highgate Cemetery is the burying place of many noted figures, including Karl Marx and members of the Dickens family. But the graveyard isn't said to be haunted by the ghost of communism, but rather by a spectral being known as the Highgate Vampire. There have been many sightings of a 7-foot-tall figure with unsettlingly hypnotizing eyes, and that's enough for us to never visit after dark.
Good.
And this is one of the creepiest cemeteries. I'm talking about Resurrection Cemetery in Illinois, Chicago, United States. Watch.
She was bright, very bright, like illuminating. She was just walking very slow. remember thinking, oh my God, it's resurrection.
Resurrection Mary has a reputation that has lasted for decades. Beginning in the 1930s, reports were made of men picking up a strange female hitchhiker near the Willowbrook Ballroom and Resurrection Cemetery.
Soon, reports were coming in of a strange spectral girl wandering Archer Avenue. Resurrection Mary. Some claim her spirit is desperately searching for someone to lead her back to Resurrection Cemetery.
The young woman reportedly wears a white dress and is strangely silent, always asking to be dropped off at the cemetery. Of course, as the story goes, this is a figure who was actually killed along that stretch of road many years ago. Ghost hunter Richard Crowe asserts that he is aware of dozens of reputable stories of sightings of Mary.
But when you come up with a story like Resurrection Mary, where we have dozens of reports spanning decades, I think you've got to go a long way to trying to undermine all that massive documentation.
And here we are at the Westminster Burial Ground in Maryland, United States.
You probably will not be surprised to learn that the cemetery where Edgar Allan Poe is buried is totally haunted. The Westminster Burial Ground, which is sometimes referred to as the Old Western Burial Ground, is home to many famous Americans, though Poe is the most prominent. Though there are many tales of eerie happenings in this spot, one of the most terrifying is the story of the Skull of Cambridge, which is allegedly the skull of a long-dead minister that occasionally screams unendingly despite being surrounded with cement.
Here we are at Greenwood Cemetery in Illinois.
Of otherworldly encounters is the Weeping Woman of the Barackman Steppes, one of Greenwood's most frequently spotted residents. Greenwood Cemetery is a rolling mix of hills and valleys, and on one of these hills are 5 stone steps which lead up to the 4 gravestones of the Barackman family. Throughout the years, there have been numerous reports of a woman standing at the top of the steps.
So I stopped the video. Look at this. This is the ghost of the woman that we are going to, in the video, it will be explained is a tragic story. But look, she's white, invisible, but not human. And normally it's not a statue. And this is an authentic snapshot. No photoshops. I go on.
With her head bowed, crying like she just got a look at her monthly cable bill. This broken-hearted specter only appears in the evening and is said to vanish with the sunset. But while this weeping woman has made a good amount of appearances, her legend pales in comparison to Greenwood's most famous and tragic spirit. In 1930, a young couple was engaged to be married, but the young groom-to-be was a bit too wild for the family of his future bride. It seems that during these waning years of prohibition, this young man made his money selling illegal whiskey, which, while not being a terribly uncommon profession at the time, could still be very dangerous, and probably wasn't great son-in-law material. You don't want your daughter to marry a man who might suddenly get shot, arrested, or blown up while bringing home the bacon. One summer night, the couple planned to meet up and finally run away together to elope. The plan was for the two to leave just after midnight, after the young man delivered a final shipment of whiskey to supply them with the money they needed for their secret wedding trip. He never showed up, but he hadn't gotten cold feet. He'd been gunned down by a rival bootlegger while delivering his whiskey, and the culprit had dumped his body into the Sangamon River. Guess so technically he did get cold feet. After waiting for him all night, the young would-be bride learned of her fiancé's fate when his body was discovered by local fishermen. He was buried at Greenwood Cemetery, which you probably saw coming. But what you may not have seen coming is that the young woman, unable to face life without her beloved, plunged into the river and drowned. Hey, look, it's a ghost story. It's gonna be sad. Nobody turns into a poltergeist after living an awesome life and passing away peacefully in a gigantic bed. The woman's parents decided to bury her in her wedding gown. Soon after, stories began circulating about a young woman in a white wedding dress walking through the cemetery, weeping and looking through the headstones, presumably searching for her lost love. It's been 100 years, you'd think she'd have found.
Here we are at the Pioneer Cemetery in Salem.
Nestled in the heart of Salem, Oregon, in the United States, Pioneer Cemetery transcends time itself, blending rich historical narratives with eerie tales of supernatural encounters, where visitors can explore the lives of pioneers and the spectral mysteries that linger beneath the moss-covered stones. Dating back to the 19th century, Pioneer Cemetery stands as a poignant testament to Oregon's pioneering era, and its weathered tombstones chronicle the lives of those who helped shape the state's history. Standing as Salem's oldest cemetery, it bore witness to the transformation of a small frontier settlement into Oregon's capital city. Within the cemetery's serene expanse, stories of spectral encounters and of enigmatic occurrences weave a captivating narrative. One prominent legend centers around the White Lady of Pioneer Cemetery. Incidentally, both locals and visitors alike have reported sightings of a ghostly woman draped in a flowing white gown who's often seen near the oldest graves. While her identity remains shrouded in mystery, her presence imparts a sense of nostalgia and a profound connection to the graveyard's history. Eerie phenomena on site include the sound of phantom footsteps echoing in the distance, hushed whispers carried on the wind, and unexplained drops in temperature even on hot days. And these ethereal manifestations contribute to the mystique of Pioneer Cemetery, inviting contemplation over the mysteries concealed within its historic confines.
And here we are at Sleepy Hollow Cemetery in New York. Listen.
Cemetery in Sleepy Hollow, New York, in the USA, transcends its name to become a realm where history and the supernatural converge, inviting visitors to explore its labyrinthine pathways and unravel the enigmas that dwell within. Established in 1849, Sleepy Hollow Cemetery is a hallowed ground that embodies the essence of the American Gothic literature. It is intrinsically linked to the works of Washington Irving, whose iconic tale, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, has forever associated the area with ghosts and legends. And this weathered boneyard actually houses the final resting place of Irving himself, as well as numerous other notable figures from American history. The cemetery's Gothic architecture and picturesque landscapes seem to pluck from the pages of Irving's writing. Towering oaks, gnarled willow trees, and creeping vines cast eerie shadows, while ivy-clad mausoleums and weathered tombstones bear witness to centuries of history. Amidst this sepulchral splendor, the lives and legacies of many influential figures, from business magnates to war heroes, are eternally enshrined. Within the cemetery's shadowy glens and among the moss-covered gravestones, legends of spectral encounters and of eerie phenomena lend a haunting aura to its historical resonance. One particularly enduring and iconic tale centers around the Headless Horseman, a spectral figure famously known for terrorizing Ichabod Crane in Irving's story, and visitors have reported sightings of this headless rider on horseback, galloping through cemetery grounds, wielding a ghostly pumpkin as a lantern. Incidentally, this legendary apparition, synonymous with Sleepy Hollow itself, embodies the very essence of the town's eerie charm. But it would seem the Headless Horseman is not alone in this pantheon of the cemetery's phantoms, and visitors have also recounted encounters with ghostly apparitions dressed in period attire, lurking amongst the tombstones or wandering the ancient pathways, with some even having claimed to hear disembodied voices whispering secrets of the past or faint laughter carried on the winds. Unexplained phenomena abound in Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, and visitors have experienced sudden drops in temperature even on the mildest of days, strange lights sighted flickering in the darkness, and unsettling sensations of being watched or touched by something unseen. Notably, many have even captured eerie anomalies in photographs, from unexplained orbs to shadowy figures. These spectral manifestations meld seamlessly with Sleepy Hollow Cemetery's rich history, creating an atmosphere that invites contemplation of the mysteries that linger within its ancient trees and moss-covered stones. And as visitors step through its wrought iron gates, they embark on a journey not only through the annals of American history, but also into the heart of one of the most iconic places in the United States, where the past and the paranormal continue to intertwine in a timeless dance of the eerie and enigmatic.
And here we are at Caveville Cemetery in Kentucky.
Cemetery, which is placed out of Louisville, Kentucky, is a ridiculously beautiful garden graveyard that harbors a number of names famous to the locale and to its history, and its premises is easily and widely recognized as one of the most haunted burying grounds in the whole of the state, if not in the country. Historically, through the mid-1700s, lands now holding this old yard were initially owned by one William Johnston and his Cave Hill farm, on which, in 1788, he actually constructed the first brick house in all of Louisville, before his passing a decade later in 1798. Through the 1830s, city officials would purchase chunks of his land in anticipation of building a railroad and workhouse. However, this railroad ended up running wide of the plot, and in 1846, Louisville Mayor Frederick A. Kay would propose the establishment of a garden cemetery on said grounds instead, and would hire civil engineer Edmund Francis Lee to plan this extravagant plat. Through February of 1848, the Cave Hill Cemetery Company was chartered, and over the years, it would be promoted as a popular nature and recreation area until 1892, when the creation of the nearby Cherokee Park drew its crowds away. Later, in 1892, the Baxter Avenue entrance, or roadway entrance, was completed, and its tower was actually one of the tallest structures around for miles. In 1910, a public entrance off of Payne Street was completed, and in 1913, the Grinstead Drive entrance was added. As some fun tidbits, as of 2002, Cave Hill played home to around 120,000 graves, with space for around 22,000 more, and one of said graves actually holds the remains of the father of Louisville, George Rogers Clark. Also contained within the yard are the plots for around 200 Confederate soldiers, and Mark Twain's cousin, Mary Ann Saunders, composers of the Happy Birthday song, and sisters, Patty and Mildred Hill, founder of KFC, Colonel Harlan Sanders, boxing legend Muhammad Ali, and the more recent
Muhammad
2020 Green
Ali!
Bay Packer and Heisman Trophy winner Paul Hornung. Cave Hill Cemetery remains open into the present and is frequented by friends and family of the deceased, history buffs, and paranormal researchers alike, and for good reason, as those who have braved its bounds have reported extreme cold spots and adverse weather conditions, odd winds that pick up out of nowhere on otherwise calm nights, and encounters with shadowy figures that lurk about. A large number of graves in the cemetery belong to soldiers from both sides of the Civil War. Incidentally, their apparitions have been sighted patrolling after dark, with reports also entailing the phantom sounds of battle and old war songs that drift on the winds. Also reported throughout Cave Hill are glowing green orbs that float above certain markers, disembodied voices and whispers heard from empty spaces, and instances of personal electronics dying abnormally quickly, or of well-maintained cars stalling out or refusing to restart. Lastly, those living around the cemetery have reported a host of odd happenings within their very homes, such as objects moving around on their own, disembodied footsteps, and doors and windows that open and close by themselves. And at night, several have told of watching strange figures drift through the yard, sometimes with lanterns in hand, seemingly searching for someone or something.
And now I really warn you, because I left you these two final videos because they are really very, very disturbing. Here we are, La Noria Cemetery in Chile. Be prepared.
Chilean desert lies two abandoned towns, Humberstone and Lonoria. The towns were founded in 1872 as part of a booming mining industry. However, economic problems eventually led to the closure of the mines, as well as the towns supporting the workers. Humberstone and Lonoria were abandoned by 1960 and have remained empty to this day. The story does not end there, however, as legends and rumours about ghostly goings-on at the towns, and in particular the attached cemetery at Lonoria, have become widespread. Local people outright refuse to enter the area and actively try to prevent outsiders from visiting for their own safety. The workers unfortunate enough to have toiled in the nearby mines were kept under very harsh conditions, which bordered on outright slavery. Accidents were rife due to poor safety procedures, and the death rate at the town was abnormally high. The bodies of all those who died of natural and unnatural causes were buried in a makeshift cemetery just outside of the town. Many of the poorly dug shallow graves lie open, and others appear to have been dug up and had their coffins opened, exposing the decay.
Be careful when these coffins had been vandalized or open. What you are watching is really a skeleton of a human being. You can see still his or her skull and bones. This is really, really a strong image, really.
Decaying skeletons held within. The official story is that this is the handiwork of grave robbers. However, the people who were buried in the cemetery were extremely poor and would have had little of value buried with them. A disturbing explanation for the open graves held by locals is that the dead rise after sunset and wander the nearby abandoned towns where they once lived. There have been several eyewitness accounts, from those brave enough to have visited the area, of apparitions and shadowy figures wandering around the abandoned streets. Screaming footsteps and sightings of children lurking around the old schoolhouse are also widely reported. The crumbling tombstones and exposed graves of the unmaintained cemetery, combined with its emptiness, adds to the graveyard's eerie atmosphere. Could the reports of figures moving through the night really be the dead risen from their graves? Or are the eyewitness accounts nothing more than stories? As if Lonoria wasn't creepy enough, a tiny 6-inch skeleton was discovered there in 2003, which has since been given the...
Look, this is another really strong photo. So, I must tell you that in 2003, this strange skeleton had been discovered. Look at him, because there are many hypotheses about who really was, because many scientists claimed that it's the skeleton of an alien. Look carefully. The head is strange, and also the body. The skull is not a normal skull of a... And look, it's really shocking, really, it shocked me very much. I go on.
The nickname of the Atacama alien. The skeleton's bulging head, unusual appearance, and tiny size led some to believe that the skeleton was that of an alien. However, later tests seem to indicate that the skeleton was in fact human, likely a young child suffering from some form of extreme mutation whose...
Other scientists instead claim that it could be a baby about 6 years old who was born with a deformity.
Survived until around the age of 6.
And now, this is very disturbing. Here we are at Bachelor Grove Cemetery in America.
This small and now abandoned cemetery has earned a reputation as being one of the most haunted spots in America. Burials first began at the site in around 1840, and officially it only contains 82 plots. However, there are believed to be many more bodies buried here. It's thought that immigrant workers who met an untimely end while working on the nearby canal are laid to rest here, and there are even darker rumours that the site has been used by Chicago crime families as a convenient dumping spot for the bodies of their victims. The graveyard is in a poor state of repair, and many of the tombstones have been vandalised. Disturbingly, many of the bodies buried here have also disappeared over the years, and there have been whisperings and rumours that satanic rituals are often held at the site. Many of the gravestones have been knocked over, stolen, or spray painted on, and loose bones can be found littered throughout the cemetery. Such desecration of the site has led to many believing that the haunting is a result of the terrible vandalism, while others believe that more sinister forces are responsible. Several visitors have claimed to have found the remains of animals that have been slaughtered in a ritualistic manner strewn across the graveyard, while others have reported finding strange inscriptions carved on tombstones and nearby trees. These discoveries have led to many believing that occult rituals are being held on the cemetery grounds. The site is officially abandoned, however its chain-link fence can be easily bypassed using the numerous holes that have been cut into it by trespassers. Unsurprisingly, a huge number of strange sightings and experiences have been reported by those brave enough to visit the site. Many have mentioned feeling rapid temperature drops.
Look, this is an image that the most important experts stated that it's authentic. It's a ghost. It's something that science can't explain. It's not a Photoshop. Really, really, really creepy.
Seeing strange orbs and apparitions, and hearing crying and footsteps emanating from the darkness, and several of these occurrences have been claimed to have been caught on camera. One of the most common accounts refers to an apparition which has become known as the White Lady or Madonna, and was rumoured to have been captured in this photograph. The transparent woman is usually seen sitting on a tombstone, and is believed to be...
This is one of the most shocking photos, because this ghost, the white lady who is weeping for her, because in this cemetery there is also her infant baby dead. Look, it's not human because it's transparent. It can be a normal woman, but according to many experts, and it's pretty visible, it's one of the most needed ghosts in history. It's something incredible. There are also rumors, some people, she's Madonna, the Virgin Mary. I don't see the Virgin Mary, I see a woman. It's really stunning. I go on.
The ghost of a woman buried next to her young child, somewhere at the cemetery. It's not known if this is just a legend, or based on truth. However, there is a small tombstone at the cemetery which is simply marked with the words, "Infant Daughter."